So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live peoples having a chinwag and chat about pastel pencils and lots of other things that come into the conversations. I'm working in this Daydreams colour book. My lighting seems to be a little bit strong today. I'll turn that one off, see if that's better. We actually have a bright day in England. We have a bit of sunshine. And so it plays havoc when you try to get all your lights in the right in the right place. So this is the Daydreams, and I love this book because it's a hardback and it's just nice feel. And it's by Hannah Carlson. So my first practice was with some pastels, full-size pastels, and I've very carefully gone over with a damp brush, and now that has become a dried watercolour. It will not go anywhere. So this was my first play with my Derwent Pastels when they arrived, but it's not set, so I can move it about. So what I thought was I'd do is, I've gone back to this, and I love all the colours, but I don't like the pale green. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I thought it would be an ideal opportunity to show you when I said that if you make a boo-boo and you don't like it, you can take it off. Now it is actually slightly greener than it's showing on camera. The lights, the camera colour's a little bit off, but once you start playing with things, the colours seem to go a little bit skew. If you see, that's too red, and it's not actually an orangey red, it's a reddy red. So just see if we can just play with this a little bit. So I think the colours look quite nice there. Mine are a little bit dark. Let me see if I can take this down a bit. You see, the green is very green. And they are pinky red, but they're not that pinky red. So let's just take this down. So there's the only thing, you could play with hours with this colour to try and get it right, and it wouldn't be. It's not so bad that, but this is green, but it's a very pale pea green, and there's something about lighting and green. I don't play with it too much. You see, I've got that. See there, that's a beautiful deep blue, and then we've got some pale purples. So that's actually quite nice, and that green's the really dark deep green. But for some reason, it's not working very well. I think that might be the best we can get. But it looks a yellow, but it's a green, but I don't like it, so I thought I'd take it off. That red looks a little bit strange. So the other colours are lovely. These are really nice colours, but it's just this red. It's the green that's just that little bit out. So I hope that looks okay. Oh, you've got three rows of yumminess. Oh yes, how wonderful. But what I can show you what to do is, if you really don't like it, is I'm actually going to take this eraser from there and turn it round and use the rounded edge. And then if you really, I've got to be careful, because if I put my hand on this, it will so this is what I meant about it's just a stain. It's almost gone, but there's the tiniest hint of the colour, and so you've just stained it, and even though this has been blended in, it comes off the page quite easily because there's no tooth. If there was a tooth, you wouldn't be able to do this. So that is if you make a complete pig's ear of it and think, oh, I love my page, but I really don't like that colour. As long as you haven't set it into a watercolour and it's pastel pencil, you can rub most of it off and use an eraser. Um, and literally it all just slides off. It's very, very well behaved. Again, another reason why I like these pastels. Um, you're not layering up, you're just taking that off there, and you can then pick up another colour and just pop it in, just like magic. So I really like that about these pastels. And I think you can erase some of the other things as well, but I was dead impressed with this because I did not like this pale green. I think it was the first colour that I actually used, and if I put it over the top it wouldn't be as good. So I've taken all that off, and then I just need to, I probably would tip the whole page actually. And then you've got to be very careful if you're using a fluffy brush, because you can still smudge all that lovely work you've done. So you've got to be very light if you didn't want to do that. So I'm going to pick another green. So I keep my pencils in these pencil sleeves because I find them a lot easier. Oh, sorry, is that better? Is that better, Dorothy? It's my fault. It's because I've got a cold and I'm conscious of the fact that my voice is silly, and when you've got a silly voice, you don't really want to start shouting. Is that better? So just looking through my pencils so that I can just pick a nice green. There's a couple of greens, and I haven't used an olive on this, and there's a dark olive. I don't think I've used a dark olive. Let me have a look. I think the dark olive will be nice. So I'm just going to do what I did last time and just, this is why you don't need perfect thumbs. Oh, I have used the olive further down, haven't I? I've just found the olive down there now, but I don't suppose it matters. And that tint would come off. If it was too dark, you wouldn't be able to do this, but Alfie's having a wander. Alfie, come here. Don't know what he's done. He's obviously been quite naughty. So just put a little bit, and I'm trying just to kind of stroke the page, because you don't get a lot of dust then, because all dust is, when you're using these, it's pigment that you're blowing down the drain. So the less dust you actually see, the better. And that means that I think we've done everyone. Just a little bit scribbled in, very, very rough, and that's what I like. They're very easy to use. Is that a bit better? I do apologise. It's because I forget what I'm talking about. And if you have a bit of a cold, you're conscious of the fact that your voice is a bit silly. So I've blown a little bit, but nothing much came off. And then I'm just going to blend again that colour into there. And I'm not very happy with that colour either, but never mind. This was the same, my first practice with the pencils. So I've got a little bit better since then. There seems to be a slight scratch in the paper with the eraser. So again, because it's a flat paper and you've erased it, you've used an eraser on it, you've kind of scuffed up a little bit. Now obviously pastel would like that because it's got a tooth to it now, but and this little blending tool is quite nice. So I'll move that across. Hopefully that's everybody can see okay. And what that's doing is just allowing me to get some colour on there, because I didn't like that pale green, and I know the colours are a bit off. I'll hold it upright in a second and you can see the real colours. And I've actually missed that one, but I can go back. So sometimes you can get a little bit of extra colour on top of the other colour, but most of the time it's nice just to do it in one, because again they're a little bit like the chameleon pens, and because they're lovely colours you get lots of colour out of one. That was the one that I missed, that one. So I think that looks slightly better balanced. If I tip that up, that's probably the better colour. Those are the real colours. So they're quite vivid and quite bright. I've just forgotten to blend those. And a little bit of colour goes a long way. So even though I've got asthma and a cold, the dust doesn't seem to be bothered, so I can't see that there is going to be that much about. So we can just, if we want to just brush all that there, I don't think there's anything that came off. So that is now ready to be fixed with water. So I've used the blending tool. I've got the nice blends and the contrast that I like. I want to pop the pencils away really, if I can do. And then my little brush. I've lost my little brush. I don't know, I've lost my little brush. Where's it gone? What did I do with my little brush? There. So then I normally use a 103 Pro Art number 5. I have a number 6, but number 5's okay. But I like the riggers because they hold a fair amount of water, but we want it damp. We don't want a lot of water, so that means it's damp all the way along. So that's going to be quite good. So we need this to start with. So all we do is the damp brush and we stroke it across the leaf, and we want to kind of do that in one. We don't want to be kind of messing about, because the more you run this across the work, the more colour you're going to disturb, because as I say, they're hanging on for dear life, these flowers, this colour. So you just want to just gently stroke the lightest colour first, and if you can just think you're just putting a thin a very thin layer of dampness across, and then if you go through the middle, and that flower and those leaves are set now. Um, and so you can go down the next one and just very carefully try not to go over the same place. And it's easier to pick off one flower at a time because you can remember where you've been then. And again, you've just got to remember that if you do too many, I think I'll do all these dark leaves first. If we do all the dark leaves, it'll remind me then. Has anybody got any questions? Oh, thank you, Diamond. I don't really like this particular page. It was a practice. I just and again, it's the first. I always practice the first page, which is this book belongs to, or there's normally a section at the beginning with some kind of small drawing that you can use. And I always find that this is the best one. I'm actually going to do all these leaves first, I think. If I do it that way, I think. And it goes slightly darker, but you wouldn't be able to tell what you've done and what you haven't. But it is slightly darker. And that's why pure pastelists do not set their work. And they certainly don't use fixative. Because even charcoal, when you do beautiful charcoal pictures, there's a dullness to the beautiful black marks when you fix them. So pastel portraits are normally just sat without glass, or if they're sat behind glass, they've got a very wide border so that the extra dust that drops off when they're moved just drops behind the wide. Sorry, dog's poddling in around. It's almost feeding time at the zoo. But the nice thing about this is that once it's finished, no piggles, no, 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 no. You want to be famous as well, do you? You want to be Diddles, do you? Where's the naughty boy? Where's the naughty boy? It's difficult to stroke one dog and paint the other fingers. It's quite funny. Da, da, da. So let's do the leaves first because I'll forget what I'm doing. And I find this is easier to do at the end. So if I go over the blackberry there, you can see everything goes just slightly dark. I did that, but that bluebell, I didn't do that one. Ow! Yes, it must be feeding time at the zoo. So I'm just dropping into a pot of water and then drying it on a baby wipe. I think I did that. No, I don't think I did that flower, did I? I did that one. If you're very careful, you can just kind of stroke over everything, but keep in mind that if it's very dark or very vibrant, like the reds, you will pick that colour up and transfer it because it's become a watercolour now. And you just go over the top, and in a moment or two that will be set, and then all those pastels won't need anything. And your page is still flat, and I'm a bit obsessed about having flat pages, I have to say. I'm a bit of an old fuddy-duddy. I like flat pages. And it's basically just a real damp brush stroking the top. And you don't need to blend it in because it's already been blended. You're just fixing it. Yes, Suzanne, a little envelope, or they just put, Suzanne says, Pure Pastelist, they put an envelope at the bottom. But if there's a frame, and then sideways they have a frame that they cut out to frame the picture, and then there's a gap between that and the back, and all the dust falls down, but when you look down you can't see because there's a border. A border is what I was meaning to say. So you have a frame and a border, but yeah, they put envelopes down and all sorts to catch the dust, because the colour does change. So you can keep greaseproof paper or tracing paper. You can keep that between if you want. It just makes it, but I mean, this is a colour book. We want to be easy, and I think this is an easy way to use some beautiful, vibrant, professional and traditional colours. So there's no newfangled nastiness in there. These are pure, light, fast pastels. And they are stored in a book, so they will presumably last quite a long time. So your grandchildren or your great grandchildren can get them out and say, my granny did this. And if you forget which bit you're doing, it doesn't matter doing it twice, as long as you don't forget. So when we get down here, as I say, you can instantly see these colours, they change very gently down. And that's why pastelists actually work. Some of them work a shade or two lighter, because then when they fix whatever they're doing, if you're really careful, look, you can stroke all that and get that not to blend. That doesn't always work. It's only because I've used the smallest amount of pigment. Didn't expect to do this actually. I expected it to blend together. But I am using a very, very light touch, so that's probably why I'm getting away with it. So those colours are slightly darker than the other ones. Oh, hi Carrie Ann, Dorothy, anybody else I've missed? Welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm just fixing, this is my practice page from, I'll zoom out a bit. It's my practice page from when I first bought my pastels. And I've been playing about with the colour, so I'm not sure that was the right thing to do. But it's allowing me to just go along and fix with a damp brush the pastels. Now they've been blended with a blending tool, and there's not a lot of colour on there, as in there's not a lot of extra colour, so I can just about get away with blending it. But normally you would probably have to do pale colours first. To make sure that everything is well blended, and just this slightest damp coating of water is going to set. Sorry, I just wonder where little man was then. He's going to actually set these pastels into a watercolour. So again, if you go on the website for the Derwent Pastel Pencils, they show you how to use them. Sorry, there's lots of noise outside. Can't think what people are doing today, but never mind. Anybody got any questions? Oh, bye, Kangaroo. Thank you for joining us. It's a very peaceful, hopefully peaceful, if Alfie stays away. I just wanted to show how quickly and how easy it was to set these. And again, it's a colour book. We want it to be nice, but we want it to be quick. We want to we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to enjoy being very creative to the best of our ability. But we don't want fixatives, and I don't want to be using 10 pencils when one will do. I just want to be able to pick up a pencil and put the colour down. And sometimes I think this is even a bit of a pest. I think I quite like the idea of in the Imagimorphy, I was at Morphe. I was blending them, and I would do a certain leaf, and then I would just fix it with a brush, rather than do it like this. But obviously, I didn't realise that this would work. And because this is a rigger, I can do more. If this wasn't a rigger, you'd have to do everything individually. But it manages to keep its dampness. And you can see those colours just turning very slightly. Now the red ones may smudge, I have to say, because they're stronger colours. But that's all there is to setting a pastel. And you could even use your bigger pastels. If you've got a set of professional pastels, for goodness sake, don't go buy the Derwents. The only difference is you won't be able to do any fine detail. Oh dear, I don't know why we've got all this going on outside, for goodness sake. Oh, I don't need that now. I can put my hand on that now. Just do the little yellow ones. And I'm being a lot rougher on this because it's my practice page, my first practice page of this book. If you get it too wet, you will end up with some buckling. The trick is to remember where you've actually been. So. I'm sorry about the growly snappy little boy upstairs. Now all this is dried, but this little birdie wants doing next, and then we've finished. Oh, you can't hear him. Oh, good. Oh, that means that the headset works then. Oh, that's good, because I wore the headset all Monday, all yesterday, and the day before, and last Monday, and I forgot to knock the other sound off, and use the correct button for resetting. And so I'd worn this headset and talked into it for no reason, so it's quite funny. I was hoping it would do that because, as I said, one lady said that it sounded like I was recording out of a toilet bowl. So I thought, okay, I'll buy some. I'll buy some headsets because it didn't matter what I did, it still sounded terrible the sound. So hopefully this is better. So when that dries, it's completely set now, so we don't need the paper. So that's set. And I say the colours are a little bit darker than there, but I quite enjoyed that. That was my first practice. And this one isn't set either, so I could sit and do each leaf, and then that would be set as well. So what I'll do for time, 30 minutes, so that's not so bad. I'll do, you see, you can just stroke this. Now I've got to be a bit careful because, if you can see, because the purple, I've picked up purple, because so I'm going to have to do that at another time because it's very vibrant, is that purple. So you've got to be careful. It worked for the other one, but this one, you've got to do each individual one and not go over, because otherwise you'll ruin your picture. So that was a very quick how to fix your right. I'm going to try and talk louder. Sorry, I'll turn the vol. I did turn the volume down a little bit, so that's turned up. Is that too high? Um, so apologies, Dorothy. It's my fault. I keep wandering off in my own little world. Um, so I'm just going to stroke all these, and I'll fix this as well because I can take all this paper out of this particular book, and it's a very, very soft. I'm going to do the leaves first, and then I will do those. Is that better, Dorothy? Do we think that's any better, Dorothy? Oh, just before you go, Dorothy, just tell me if that's any better, because I did turn it up. I did turn it up. Did I turn it down? Oh, not according to this. According to this, I turned it up. Oh, right, wait a minute. Is that no better, Dorothy? According to this, I've got more green bars. Or has everybody else gone quiet now? According to this, I did turn it up. Did it go up? Has it gone up too much, or is it just about right? It got low, Bunny. I was hearing fine. Oh, right. Well, that's very strange. It's up now. So is everybody happy? Is everybody happy with that? The thing is, because the volume is right next to me, I'm always conscious of the fact. And that was a little bit too damp, was that? But never mind. I had a problem with one of the videos, but as I said, I'd forgotten to press to change where the volume was, because every time you set it, every time you go on, it resets itself. It will not keep what you want. What you want. So you have to remember to set the volume, the camera. So oh, it's really loud now. Yes, it should be really loud now. That should be better. Right, so hopefully that should be better. That should be in the middle and please everybody. And we can't hear Alfie barking, so that's quite nice. So Alfie won't be in the doghouse anymore. So you can see these changing colour just a little bit. Um, as I say, I probably would do one and like I do now and then set it, because it's just a bit easier, and you can also tell where you've been as well, so that's quite nice. So this should take about maybe 10 minutes, and it's a lot better than fixatives, and even hairspray, so it's 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 quite nice. So you know that you're not, if you've got asthma, you're just using water. But the only reason this works as easy as this is because I don't have layer upon layer upon layer. I have one very, very fine layer, and see, I just caught that green which went on that yellow, so that was not good. So I'll do the yellow flowers first. So you've got to be careful, because there's no point having a nice coloured page and then ruining it because we're rushing. Right, is that better? I think it's actually the position of the headset. That might be just a little bit better. Is that a little bit better? Um, I know sometimes the volume on one of my laptops was really bad, and so I adjusted all the videos, and then I was watching to see if it was better, um, and it was too loud, and I didn't realise that one of my laptops will not play loud. I don't know why. The other two are fine. Um, I quite hate technology when it's not consistent. Sorry. Gosh, I'm turning into Hilda Baker. She used to get her words wrong. And not quite that old, but I do remember I listened to Radio 4 Extra on the UK, and they play lots of 50s and 60s radio sitcoms, because, of course, in those days they didn't have TV. A lot of them, they had a lot of radio plays, and a lot of radio comedy, and I quite actually like it, especially the fact that there's no swear words in it. And I mean, I can swear like the best of troopers if I have to, but there are times when I don't really want to listen to swearing. So, because I love Ken Dodd, because I've been taking the children to see him, and you know that there's never anything going to come out of his mouth. Um, you can get another level, which we love, a little bit like Shrek. The films Shrek, it's on all levels. There's a bit of adult humour mixed in there somewhere, which children will not get. So I quite like that as well. But and Mr. Dodd. But we went to see Ken Dodd, and my other daughter wanted to see Russell Howard, and I love watching Russell Howard on the television programs, and he was very funny. But I'm a tight Yorkshire lass, and I think he had a stand-up comic, bless him, and I don't think he was on 2 hours. Ken Dodd was on about 5.5, quarter of the price. And my children said, "Mummy, we can't go see him again because our hips ache." He not only makes your stomach ache, you actually ache to your ribs because you're laughing so much. So definitely gets your titter chuckle muscles going. I can't remember where we got to there from. I don't know how I've got to chuckle muscles from pastel pencils, but hey ho, there we go. This is a very strong, vibrant green, so I've got to be a bit careful because I will get that outline, unless you want that colour on the outline, outside of your line. But if you struggle to keep the colour inside, you certainly don't want to go outside. So again, you can just do all the little berries. I mean, some people did red berries and ripe berries and underripe berries, and um, I just wanted to sit there and colour berries. So I had one brush, one blender, and that was it. That's what I did. Because I don't class this as my work. None of this is my work because it's somebody else's drawing. It's only my drawing if I've drawn it, so I can't get that enthusiastic about it because it's just a drawing. It's just colouring in. So that's probably why I don't do it quite as good as I should do, or quite as not quite as good, but put as much effort in, shall we say, as I should do if I was painting an oil painting. But my oil paintings take months. I don't really want to spend months on a colour page. So you can put into these pages exactly what you want, but the pastels will lend you to colouring for a bit, and then when you want to start colouring in your own work, you can buy the pastel paper, which has a beautiful tooth, and you can start colouring in your own work, and these pastels will last for years. Keep forgetting where I've been and where I haven't been. So I just wanted to show how easy it was to fix them without the dreaded fixative. So I'm glad we've got the sound sorted. That would be good. And can just make sure that all these little things are being set. And I know I haven't done the mice yet, so that's another thing to do. Little mice. I think there's probably going to be a bit of a method of doing this. It was quite nice to colour them, though. I have to say, I really enjoyed colouring them in. Has anybody else done this page? Oh, hi Linda, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else? Hope we've sorted the. I hope we've sorted the sound. As long as I remember to talk into the microphone. I hope the voice isn't too nasal after my nasty cold. So, having done these both ways, I think it's easier to do it as you go along. Unless, of course, you're somewhere where you don't really want to have oops, well, you haven't really got a damp brush. I remember I used the eraser for the pearls, because the blending tool was quite big, so I used the eraser to take off. Um, to make the pearls pure white again. I thought that would be quite good. So I am trying to keep that page as dry as possible. But I've done quite a lot of brown there, so if I can show there, look, picked up some pigment. And we've got the other little mouse to do, and then we've done the mouse, and this page is finished. Purely because I can't remember where I've been and where I haven't been, I think it's easier to kind of do a section and then, if you want it setting with water, just run a damp brush over the top. So I can get rid of that. Oh, not quite sure if it will work on the Bennett Kleins. I'm not going to rub it just yet because I don't want it to. Let me just show the colours. They're the normal colours. They're a little bit flashed out because my light's playing up. It's a bright day today, and Monday was miserable. So, but I love the very vibrant. Just leave that one in there for a second. So I quite enjoyed that. So you can decide how to do it best. I like working like I was doing in this Colin Thompson book, is doing a section and as I'm drawing. Again, the light seems to have gone funny again. So that's my daylight light. So that might be better. That's my daylight lamp. So this particular page, I was doing a little one particular thing, and then using the brush straight away, and I found that an easy way to work. And we did him earlier, and he's fixed as well. So you can feel if it's chalky. So that page has now been fixed, and I don't have to worry about it. So as I say, I quite like working like this. So the pastels give you those gorgeous, pure, very bright pastel effects, and then you can just use a very, very damp, pale, just damp brush, almost dry, just colour over the top to seal them, to make sure that they're not going to move now. So you've got the best of both worlds. So I'm going to stop the video. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the pastel pencils fixatives with water. Thanks for watching.